That, ladies and gentlemen, is from the a flock of seagulls. Excuse me. It's called "Wishing." If I had a photograph of you, a song that I found accidentally a few years ago because I was always have heard of the flock of seagulls' big hit, and I never heard of any of their other ones. Even though I grew up in the '80s, I guess, was a big new wave type of music guy, and I found that one and I fell in love with it instantly. It's now my favorite Flock of Seagulls song. So had to use it for the beginning of my first episode in 2 weeks due to family, what's the type of word? Obligations on Easter weekend. I could not do an episode on Saturday or Sunday, or Friday for that matter. It was a long weekend, as it were, anyway. Family stuff, Easter stuff, like that. But that's all right. It was fun. It was good. And unfortunately, though, because of that, I have 2 weeks worth of stuff I'm going to be talking about. So thank you for coming to the show. If you are brand new to the show, because I don't know, I've just joined a group on Twitter, and I put the link up there, and hopefully if someone's going to be watching, maybe they'll find out and like it. This show, despite episode 236, is one that you can watch at any time and not get lost. You don't have to have seen the previous episodes to understand what's going on, though it would be nice if you would check the previous 235 out because there's some good stuff in there. I've been doing this for close to 5 years now, and I'm enjoying it immensely, and that's why I was disappointed last weekend that I couldn't do an episode, so I just have to make it up and do a twofer sometime in the next couple weeks. Now, usually on the show, it's always on a Saturday or Sunday, sometimes Friday if necessary. 2 of the episodes I usually have a guest with me. One is my friend Jerry Fletcher. She and we do our top 10 lists or top 15, top 20, whatever. We will be doing a top 10 list this month. We skipped last month because she had some power issues and there was really nothing we could think of off the top of our heads. But this month we are going to be doing our top, I think I said 15. It might change, but top 15 songs of the 1990s that we like. I mean, not necessarily mean they're the best songs of the 90s, but the songs that we like of the 1990s. So we'll be discussing those next weekend. I think it's next Saturday night. So next Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. Ish, depending on when we get back from a family event. That's when we'll be doing our top 15 songs from 1990s. Now, I am hoping that by the end of the month, my other co-host and I, MJ Khan, can reconnect because we had been having massive computer issues over the last 2 months trying to get our things synced up, and he couldn't hear me. I could hear him, but he couldn't hear me. And we had a hard episode where I had to type in everything I was saying because he could read the chat and comment on that when we were talking about Black Panther. So I'm going to get in touch with him the next couple of weeks to say, hey, let's do Avengers Infinity War episode because that's supposed to be out at the end of the month, April 27th. And we'll talk that because MJ and I talk comic books. So we're going to try to reconnect for that. Hopefully our systems will be configured and worked out. There's a couple of stuff updates I need to do and so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens. Or maybe by then we'll have a new computer because we just got our tax refund back. So we'll see. Hopefully things will work out. But so basically my show, I do a lot of solo shows because it's easier for me to pick a time to do it instead of having to work someone else in my schedule, which is fine. I don't mind doing that. But when I want to do a solo show, I fit it to my schedule. So on these solo shows, I talk about whatever I feel like talking about, pretty much stuff I've seen on the internet that I want to comment on. And there's some fun stories. There's some whole wide ranging of stuff from science fiction to food to Pokemon to comic books to movies to political stuff, current events, strange stories, happy stories, sad stories, bad stories, dirty stories, stuff like that. So all kinds of fun stuff. We got 2 weeks worth of that now. So we're going to start with the significance of the title, which actually is very funny. Of my episode, that it's episode 236. April 2nd, which was last Monday, was the day after Easter. And originally I was scheduled to be off from work. I wanted to take a vacation day, have a long vacation. And unfortunately, I was getting prepped to do I was told I was going to be doing this big project at work a couple weeks ago. So I had to drop that vacation day because it was going to start on the 3rd, so I would have to get stuff prepped on the 2nd. So unfortunately, I had to not take the vacation day. So I was kind of bitter about that. My wife stayed home with the kids because their spring break was a long weekend, which thanks Governor Hogan for that, you asshat. But that's a different story that I've already talked about. So I went into work, and for those who don't know me, again, if I'm doing this for people who might not have ever seen the show before, I live in a place called Reisterstown, Maryland, which is a small town, one of the oldest cities, actually not really city, oldest towns in the United States. We were founded in 1647, something like that, before America, obviously. And so we have a lot of, we're a historical town, and we have a lot of historical buildings and stuff like that down here, and historical sites. But in order to connect us to the rest of the world, they built a highway called 795 about, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years ago. Might have been 40 years ago. That connected us to the rest of the world, connects to 695, which is the big highway that circles Baltimore and Towson and stuff like that. So 795 is literally right behind me. That's my back door back here. I'm in the basement of my house. That's my back door back there. If we went out that back door, you would see the end of 795 because it ends back there. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds. I've got a big field that is kind of a woodsy type of area. It's a marshy, woodsy area that they're not going to build up ever, which is great because you have that marshy area and then bam, there's the end of 795. So you really can't have houses right in front of 795. So we lucked out. They're not going to block our view. And it's a nice view, actually, when the trees are all in bloom. We get animals. We get lots of birds, squirrels, raccoons, deer, fox. It's really quite cool. So I'm taking that 795 to 695 to get to work. So early in the morning, 795. I leave about what time do I leave about? I leave about 6:45 from here to get down to my work. I start work at 7:30, and I'm on the highway 795, and we have one of those overhead signs. Now remember, it is April 2nd, so 4/2, which is when you add them together is 6. That didn't cross my mind until all this weird stuff started happening. So I'm driving along, and we get to the first big sign, one of those street signs that says, how long the traffic is going to be, if there's going to be traffic up ahead, if there's a warning, if there's icy road conditions, whatever. It's one of those street signs that you see. And this one, it said, 695, 6 miles away, 6 minutes. So first thing you have 695 is on that board, 6 miles is on the board, 6 minutes is on the board. I looked at my clock, no shitting you, it was 6:56. Well, it gets better. So I cross underneath the sign. And so I was like, that's kind of weird. So as I cross under the sign, I look up again, and there's the speed limit sign. The speed limit for 795 is 60. There's another 6. I was like, and this literally right after the street sign, right after 6:56, all that stuff. So like, okay, that's really kind of odd. And then I start looking around for other signs of the number 6. And sure enough, cars driving by me or the car in front of me, license plates, 3 of them have 6s in their license plates. No shitting again. That had all 6s. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. So as I kept driving down the road, I started seeing if there were any other instances of the number 6 that were weird. Most of the time, the usual stuff, the speed limit of 60, 6 is on license plates, stuff like that. Get down to 695. 695, 6s again, and I sort of lose a little bit of, don't think about too much. I'm thinking about other stuff. So I'm driving along, listening to my music and stuff like that. Again, no shitting you. I get to track 6 on a CD that I have that I'm listening to as I'm passing an exit 16. So just kind of weird. And then I think there were some other ones. I don't quite remember. It's been over a week now. But on 4/2, when you add them together, 6, there was all these instances of the number 6. It was absolutely insanity to see all that. And I was like, you know what? I probably should have played the lottery. And I should probably go back and take a look at the lottery and see what the jackpots were and what the numbers were for that day to see if there are any instances of the number 6. Maybe it was the world telling me you should play the lottery so you can win some money. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. So we're going to start on the stuff I was going to talk about last week, and we'll get to the stuff that I covered for this week. So I got 2 pages worth of stuff. So this is all the stuff for this week, and this is all the stuff from this week. Or rather, this is from last week, and this is from this week. So first up, I'm just going to go down the aisle. So it's going to be, as I said, it's going to be just random jumping around stuff. So try to hold on. As I told you before, Avengers Infinity War is coming out April 27th. And it's the big culmination of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe's first 10 years is this movie. And so we've been starting to see posters for it and trailers and TV commercials for it, stuff like that. And the one instance that everyone keeps jumping on is that, where's Hawkeye? Now, the rumors are that Hawkeye is going to be playing a character by the name of Ronan in this, which is a character that Clint Barton in the comics took over after he was murdered by the Scarlet Witch and brought back to life, and then he didn't want to be Hawkeye again, so he decided to go undercover as Ronan and became more of a martial arts type of guy and didn't use a bow and arrow. The rumor is that the reason why he hasn't showed up in any of the Infinity War stuff is because of that. They don't want to ruin the surprise of Ronan, even though someone is speculating that that's what it was. Another person is speculating that they think that after Civil War and after Captain America freed everybody, that maybe Tony came to Clint bearing an olive branch type of thing to get him house arrested so he can stay at his house. But if he could secretly maybe do a mission to try to find these Infinity Stones. Now, I don't know about that because I don't think Tony really knows much about the Infinity Stones in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've been rewatching it. The reason I'm bringing all this up now is because we've been rewatching the movies, my wife and I, with my daughter, who has become extraordinarily interested in it, which makes me a very proud dad because she wants to see Infinity War. So in order to get her to see Infinity War, she had never seen any of the other MCU movies except for Guardians of the Galaxy. So starting about a month or so ago, we started playing them when we could on the weekends, and we've gotten through all of them, with the exception of we didn't do the Hulk and we didn't do Iron Man 3 because, to be honest, they don't really have much to do with the overall story of the MCU, but we wanted to hit all the ones that did. I mean, aspects of Iron Man 3 and Hulk are important, but they're not as important as these other ones. And we had a limited amount of time because we can't watch them during the school week because we have activities. And we're good parents, so the kids still have to go to bed at a reasonable time. But on the weekends, they can stay up as late as they want. And, well, my son can't because he's still only 8, but my daughter's 11, almost 12 years old, so we let her stay up a little later. And so we've been able to watch the movies then. So last night we watched Doctor Strange. We now only have 2 more movies to go. Oh, she saw Black Panther also. We only have Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man Homecoming are the only 2 we have left. And then we'll be set for Infinity War, which comes out, as I said, in about 3 weeks. And so that's why all this stuff's been coming up. But from rewatching those movies, I don't think Tony knows about the Infinity Stones. I think he does a little bit, I guess, from Avengers 2 when Vision talked about the stone in his head, and I think when Thor was talking about it, I think Tony was there, so he might know about it. So he might actually have gotten Hawkeye to do that, and he's going to be like their secret weapon type of thing. I don't know, as I said, but he has been mysteriously missing. This is what my point is, though. I wanted to say. My point is that there has been debates forever since the MCU's been out that Marvel shows too much in their trailers and commercials, and that it's ruining the experience for people who want to go in fresh, or people are spoiling the movie for them way ahead of time. I like spoilers, so I don't mind them, but I do understand people who don't want spoilers and want to try to see it, without having seen anything else. And I get that. I do. That was me with The Last Jedi. I saw some of the trailers, but I didn't read any of the reviews of The Last Jedi or any of the spoilers that popped up on your social media until I actually saw it. But I did see the trailer, so I knew what there was. So it wasn't really like I was going with fresh eyes, but I was going in with what I just seen in the trailer and it not making sense to me because, they take things from all over. So there's been a debate that they show too much. So in this advertising frenzy for Avengers Infinity War, they have not been showing Hawkeye. Which, again, might be a spoiler, might be a surprise, it might be coming up. They want to hold something close to the vest. And maybe these same people who are saying that Marvel's showing too much are now complaining, why haven't we seen Hawkeye yet? I'm not going to say that's hypocritical, but I was like, you got to get your priorities straight. Do you want spoilers or do you not want spoilers? You know, do you want spoilers when it pertains to your favorite character? Is that why you're saying, well, where the hell's Hawkeye? Because you like Hawkeye, but normally you're like, well, they show too much in the MCU trailers. You gotta control that. Either you want the spoilers or you don't. I think, for the most part, I think the Russo brothers are doing a really good job. We're 3 weeks out. If they can just hold on for 3 more weeks and not show any Hawkeye, that would be great. Now, I don't know. It's really hard to say because now I've been seeing ads that they now have released a Hawkeye poster. But at the same time, there have been people who have been photoshopping Hawkeye posters as well. So I don't know if it's really a real Hawkeye poster or it's not. Same with Ant-Man. Ant-Man hasn't been in any of the advertising for Infinity War either, though he is supposed to be in it. The newest rumor about that is that Michelle Pfeiffer, who will be playing Janet Van Dyne in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie coming up in the summer, is going to make an appearance in Infinity War in some form or another, be it from a flashback or maybe they discover her in the new realm where she's been held, and yet they haven't shown her at all in Ant-Man and Wasp. Now, I haven't heard anybody complaining about that because it was told that Michelle Pfeiffer was going to be playing Janet Van Dyne in Ant-Man and Wasp, and the first couple of trailers have come out for it, and she has not been seen yet. So there's no one complaining about that, you know, and the fact that they're holding that to their vest, which is good because I love Michelle Pfeiffer. I think she's going to be fantastic in that, and to be, you know, married to Michael Douglas is just awesome. And that the two of them together is really, really cool. And I think it should be a lot of fun. That's why I think the week that Ant-Man the Wasp comes out is the week that my in-laws are taking the kids for the summer. A week for the summer. You know, my grandparents did that for me and my sister. So my in-laws have been doing the same for them. They want to spend time with their grandkids for about a week. They go do all kinds of fun stuff. So my wife and I, well, we'll be working during the week, and we also don't have to pay that week for daycare. So for the camp, which is extraordinarily expensive. Thanks again, Governor Hogan. So I think if it comes out that week, I think my wife and I might do a date night to go see that. And then I'll have to take my daughter and my son, because we actually showed my son Ant-Man when we were watching the rewatch. He hasn't been as interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He liked Black Panther, and he saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and he saw Ant-Man. So those are the ones we're going to try to maybe get him to watch Ragnarok tonight, because my wife hasn't seen it yet, and she's dying to see it. So we'll see. But I think if my timing is right, I think Ant-Man and Wasp is coming out that week that my wife and I can have a date night to watch it, which is going to be fantastic. So, but Michelle Pfeiffer hasn't popped up in any of the ads for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So again, rumors are going to be swirling forever. And the one thing I love is after the movie comes out, there's always someone that does, these are all the rumors that were not true, and these are all the rumors that were true type of story, where they say, well, you said this, well, that didn't happen. And you said this, and they, hey, that did happen. Good job. You picked up on that. So we'll see. So figure out what you want. Do I want to see Hawkeye? Again, I don't care. I like Hawkeye, but my life isn't going to be ruined if we don't see him and he pops up in some special way in Infinity War, or if we do see him in an upcoming trailer or ad or whatever, because, you know, we're getting close to the end, so they're not going to probably release another trailer. You're going to probably start seeing more ads, and like they just released one that focuses obviously on Black Panther, because here's another story I'm going to talk about. Black Panther has just surpassed Titanic as the #3 highest grossing movie of all time in the United States. So Titanic is now #4. For the longest time it was #1, but guess what? It's not anymore. And I think the ones ahead of it, I think, is Force Awakens and Avengers. I think those are the only two that are ahead of it. I think Force Awakens has overtaken the Avengers. Don't quote me on that, though. So I think that's kind of interesting about that. And so Marvel, being the smart business people that they are, and they did the same thing with Justice League. You know, when Wonder Woman became such a huge hit and she was going to be in Justice League later in the fall, they started gearing more ads and trailers to show more Wonder Woman, because they're saying, hey, you liked Wonder Woman, here she is again in our Justice League movie. Why don't you come and watch the Justice League movie, hoping they would get the bump from Wonder Woman. Unfortunately, they didn't get the bump from Wonder Woman. This movie, Infinity War, is already tracking to make $250 million in its first weekend, which is going to make it the highest grossing first weekend of all time. I predicted that. MJ Khan predicted that when we did our show a couple months ago when we were discussing it. We predicted that was probably going to happen. And right now, with all the ticket sales, advanced ticket sales you can get now, it looks like it's going to trend that way. And because of that, it might force more movie theaters to add more theaters, because there was one theater in Atlanta that showed nothing but Black Panther. It was a 20 cinema theater, and they showed all Black Panther movies, and every single theater was sold out. So that was how big it was. So that's, I think, is going to happen here too. So again, they decided to do that with the next commercial, and it was actually really, really cool because it gave you more of the Wakandan feel. And when you saw Black Panther, like, okay, this is really kind of cool. This ad pretty much was saying, you like Black Panther? Look at this, because the gorilla, the mountain gorilla, Bawana, was in it as well, and they were getting ready to have, and they focused more on the Wakandan stuff because Cap met Bucky for the first time since he dropped him off in Civil War, and then they had Okoye do some funny comedic line at the end, little teaser at the end, and they showed the other stuff as well, but it was mostly focused on the chant that T'Challa was making. I think it says, "We will not bend," I think, and he repeats it over and over again, over not just the scenes in Wakanda, but the scenes with Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and the Guardians and all that, while that chant is in the background. It's one of the best ads out there, and it just came out this weekend, so definitely check your social media thing and check it out. It is a really good one. I showed it to the kids, and their minds were blown because my son loves Black Panther, and so much so that after I do the show tonight, we're going to go shopping. I sort of convinced him, hey, maybe we should go buy a Black Panther pop. And my son's like, yes, we need to do that. So guess what? I think I'm going to get myself a Black Panther pop. So score, because I wanted one. And I can use this. Well, the kids wanted it to my wife. Hey, she'll buy that. Jumping ahead to, let's do one more little Marvel thing, and then we'll move to something else, because I'm sure the one viewer's watching is like, okay, that's cool, but I want to hear some other stuff. We'll get to it, don't you worry. I got a nice little kicker after this one. Again, rumored, not proven yet, and it might have something because of another story I'm going to add in here. For those who don't know this or don't remember, whatever, Fox owned the rights to the Fantastic Four, X-Men movies, Deadpool, so on and so forth, like that. And Disney recently grabbed the hold of Fox and shifted that and bought out Fox. That meant that brought all these characters into Marvel Studios' hands. Now, there have been no discussions yet for a Fantastic Four movie or how they're going to connect the Fox movies to the MCU, if they can, that type of thing. Because let's face it, Deadpool is a little bit different than the X-Men movies, and it has a little bit different feel to it, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. But, there have been some, fan casting of a Fantastic Four movie the MCU is going to do, and I'm not 100% certain I'm sold on what the fans want for the roles, though I think there might be some good one. John Krasinski as Reed Richards might be interesting. Emily Blunt as the Invisible Woman might be really good too, because she was originally supposed to play Black Widow, but couldn't because of some issue. I think she got pregnant or something, and they couldn't have that, so they got Scarlet instead. They want John Cena for the Hulk. I'm not the Hulk thing. I'm not exactly sure I'm down with that, though it might work. I don't know. And then I forget who they wanted for Johnny Storm. They wanted somebody that needs to be like Chris Evans-esque, who was a fantastic Human Torch when they did the original Fantastic Four movies. And that's the other thing also. So Fantastic Four and the X-Men rights belonged to Fox, and then Disney came and swooped them in, bought out Fox, and supposedly brought in the X-Men Fantastic Four to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, we haven't seen anything yet when it comes to that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they've been working on these way ahead of time, so they didn't want to jump in all the way in. But this might be the perfect time because I think they wanted to wait till the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it, which is Avengers 4, which comes out next year, which is the final film of the first generation, I guess, of Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then after that, everything after that is going to be different because at that point, Chris Evans is no longer going to be Captain America. Downey doesn't want to play Iron Man anymore. And Hemsworth had been hemming and hawing about doing Thor again. For a while, he wasn't going to do it again, but since he had such a great time on Ragnarok, he might come back for another one. So who knows what's going to happen, but there's the rumors of the Black Widow solo movie coming out. You're going to see Black Panther 2, obviously. You'll probably see, Captain Marvel's coming out next year, so that's probably going to make bank also. They'll probably need a sequel for that. Doctor Strange 2 is going to have to come out because it did very well in the cinemas as well. And then you can create some. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is still on the board for that as well. So you got some of these more individualized movies coming out that time. And this could be this next generation, as it were, next wave. Well, it's not really waves because the waves are pretty much over, but the next generation of Marvel Cinematic movies might be a way to pull in the Fox films. And that rumor sort of got a little substantiation recently with the rumor that Dark Phoenix, which is the movie that's going to wrap up, I guess, the X-Men stories that started in First Class and went through Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. Dark Phoenix is going to wrap up that group of X-Men movies, and is supposedly going to lead into its getting inclusion into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, the one thing, at first when I read the movie, rumors you know what, they've already made the movie, and what they were making it when this was happening, the Fox Disney conversion was happening. So I was I don't know if they're actually going to do that. But we just got good possible verification, which is another story that came out recently this week, that Dark Phoenix is going to be delayed. It was supposed to come out this fall. It has now been pushed to next year, along with the New Mutants. Again, the New Mutants were already supposed to come out. The New Mutants movie should have already been out at this point, but they moved it to next year in February, and then they just moved it again back further. Now they moved Dark Phoenix from its fall slot to sometime in, I think, early 2019. That leads me to believe that they have to do massive reshoots, which means that they may be adding Marvel Cinematic Universe tie-ins to Dark Phoenix to add it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and be the doorway, the connection between the MCU and the Fox movie is this film. And that is, to me, really what I believe is the only reason why they would delay this movie another 3 to 6 months. If it was already due to come out in the fall, it should almost be done. But now you're pushing it back. Same with New Mutants. New Mutants are getting a ton of reshoots now. I don't know if that has to do with the fact that it wasn't doing very well in screenings, because it is completely different than any other superhero movie. And I hope it doesn't mean that they're going to change it, because when I saw the trailer for it, it was almost a perfect trailer, because New Mutants, to me, doesn't personify horror. But I never read the Demon Bear story, and I've heard the story that is a kind of a creepy, horror-esque type of story, and that was what they were making in this movie. And it would be a great shot in the arm to the superhero movie genre in general, instead of just rehashing what we've been seeing already through Marvel and DC. So I hope that these massive reshoots, supposedly, that are going on for New Mutants, does not lessen the impact of the differences and are making it be more in line with superhero movies. And I hope that's not the case. Maybe they're going to add a cinematic universe tie into that as well. Maybe they decide they're going to do Warlock, because they said originally they were going to have Warlock in it, who's this robotic type of character, but he was too expensive to do with computer generation. But maybe they were able to get some extra money and say, hey, let's throw Warlock in there, and they can do that. So who knows about that? But the Dark Phoenix stuff, I think, might be an indication that they might be adding something that can connect the MCU to the Fox movies. Now, another rumor that came out also is that the Silver Surfer supposedly might be an Infinity War, might be one of the surprise cameo things that's going to pop up. So Silver Surfer was a part of that Fox deal also. So if that's the case, that's going to be the official first connection between Fox and Marvel. But that I'm not 100% certain on again. This Dark Phoenix one to me has a better sense that, okay, I think this is going to be more, they're adding scenes to connect it to the MCU. Again, my opinion, and I don't know, I could be wrong. All right, so enough of that. Let's talk about some other stuff. And then I'll get to some comic book stuff later. But let's talk about bars. I got a double dose of bars for you. You know, bars, not like bars, you know, bars where you drink alcohol and stuff. First up, this was kind of cool, and I just sort of stumbled upon it on Facebook. I think I follow someone on Facebook called Pop Sugar, and they're the ones that get me all the info about the upcoming like new Pop-Tart flavors and Oreo flavors and other new crazy stuff. There's some stuff in there I'm going to talk about a little later. But this one was a woman who did like a little video of New York's hidden bars. And she showed about, it was like 8 or 10 of them. And these are like bars you did not even know existed because they're not like bars. You know, when you go down the street and you see a bar, you know, you get the big neon lights and the alcohol signs in the wall, and it's people outside smoking, motorcycles, and lots of cars and people mingling about and stuff like that, because that's what a bar usually is, you know, flashing lights, smoke, whatever, if it's a dance club especially. But these are hidden bars that are literally hidden in places. One, and some of these, New York's been around, it was one of the original colonies, so it's been around forever. And in the 1920s, when we had Prohibition, where alcohol was illegal, speakeasies popped up all over New York, and they're still there, and they're still used for alcohol consumption. So this woman showed a couple of those. She showed some bars that are connected to restaurants that you wouldn't expect. Like there's a Chinese food restaurant that you don't expect or connect an alcohol bar with. But if you walk down the basement, into the basement of this Chinese restaurant, there's an actual bar down there. And it was just kind of neat to see that there all these little secret hidden bars all over New York City. And she was showing us where you can find them and how to get into them. And some of them, there's one that there was an actual secret room was built, and you have to move the bookshelf. It has like a bookshelf in this restaurant, and you move the bookshelf, and it's a fake bookshelf, and the wall opens like an old school like horror haunted house thing. You walk in, and there's a bar behind there that is fully functioning, and you close that as well. And then there was another one where there was a door, that just a random door somewhere in some restaurant, that if you didn't know what it was, you'd think maybe it was janitorial supply closet or a regular supply closet, or just, you know, an old entrance that is barred up or whatever. But no, you like knock on the door, or you ask to say, can I go to the bar? They give you the key to open the door. You go in there, and there's a secret bar behind that door also. So it's kind of neat to see those. And it leads me to believe is I'm wondering if there are more of these hidden bars, not just in New York City, but but not in New York City, but in other places like in Baltimore, where I'm from, or whatever. And then there's also, and I might have talked about this before because I think I might have seen this before, but I'm just going to mention it again. Bars nowadays also have themes. There's lots of different theme bars out there. I mean, there's a Harry Potter theme bar, and there's a Avengers theme bar, a Tim Burton theme bar, stuff like that. Well, this is a magic theme bar where everything is done magically. The bartenders are fluent in magic, and they make their drinks using magic and stuff like that. And they create, like, you know, it's like a regular like whiskey or something like that, and then they add something to it, and it becomes like this fluorescent type of glowy thing, and it's like poof, and smoke comes out, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, and it's all kinds of magic type of thing. That's kind of, I don't know exactly where it was, but I thought it'd just be interesting that there are so many different theme bars out there that, hey, why not? I think there's a Pokemon bar that they created over in Japan, or it was a Pokemon restaurant or something like that they created over in Japan. So that's kind of interesting. Speaking of Japan, 2 weeks ago, I should say, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned on this show something called chocolate slices, which, you know, if you go to a grocery store, and you see the processed cheese slices like a Velveeta or a Kraft or whatever. Those are the cheese slices that they're individually and sliced, wrapped in a plastic. You lift it up and you get a slab of cheese, and you put it on your sandwich, or you eat it straight, or whatever you want to do with your cheese. And you see cheese slices all over the place. Well, slices seems to be the new thing now, because 2 weeks ago I talked about there's a place that's now offering chocolate slices, the exact same design as cheese slices, the square, perfect square, wrapped in that cellophane. You just pull the lid off and boom, you have a chocolate slice. You put it in your mouth, you put it on brownies, cakes, cookies, whatever, cinnamon rolls, whatever, and it's chocolate. It's not like fake chocolate or whatever. It's actual chocolate. It's like, okay, that was an interesting story. And so literally the next week I'm reading stuff on social media, and I see an ad or a story on ketchup slices. Now, again, it is in the same format as the cheese slices and chocolate slices. It's a perfect square wrapped in that cellophane where you lift it up and you get the perfect square. But it's ketchup. And I guess when you make a hamburger, and you use like cheese slices on your hamburger and it melts in the grill, I guess you can put the ketchup slice on too, and it might turn into ketchup. I don't know if I want hot ketchup. I mean, that's one of the things why I wait until after the grill is done and we're at the dinner table and I put the cold ketchup on it, and you get the mix of the hot and the cold together. But I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of the ketchup slice. So do with that what you will. I think it's only available in Japan, of all places anyway. I think the chocolate slices might only be available in Japan also, because they're way ahead of everybody else when it comes to stuff like that, innovation and something like that. This is more of a personal observation I've noticed lately. I don't know if you remember back in the 80s, maybe early 90s. I think they made big stories about it in the 80s. The squeegee kids, you remember those? During the summer, when you're in your car and drive up to a stoplight in the middle of a city somewhere, these kids, between the ages of 10, 14 years old, something like that, have buckets of water, and they have squeegees, the thing that they clean windows with, and they started cleaning your windows. And then they would just rush their car and start cleaning it because they're expecting you, hey, I just washed your car, give me some money. You got to either tell them no, or you got to turn your wipers on to tell them not to do it, or spray it yourself. But they would just come out and do it, and then expect you to pay them. And I hated that, because if no one is asking for you to do that, don't get mad when you do it and they don't give you anything, because they didn't want you to do it in the first place. So it was a fad that I didn't think was going to last that long. I think something happened eventually. They realized, okay, we're not making any money out of this, or it just didn't seem like a good idea at the time anymore because they were getting more rejections, or maybe the police actually stepped in and said, hey, you can't do this. Next time you do it, we're going to arrest you, that type of thing. I don't know what it was, but I remember that was a big thing back in the 1980s. And I guess maybe there's some homeless people who might have did it as well. But at the same time, nowadays, I've been noticing it a lot more because I work, outside of the city, but still it's in a poor type of area. And luckily, I've never been accosted yet, because I usually tend to drive in the middle lane of the road, and they tend to stay by the road closest to the median strips where they stand on. And usually whenever they're out there doing that, I'm usually not stopped too long. I've been seeing that again, but this time it's older people. It's not really kids doing it anymore. I think there might be some high school kids. I saw some doing it, like older high school kids, but I've been seeing more grown-ups doing it nowadays. And I suppose when I think about it more, I guess some homeless people were doing it back then as well. But the fact is, the squeegee kids are back, but now they're grown up, and they're trying to make money again. And it's the same exact thing again. Car drives up, they're sitting there waiting for the car to come, and they start going over and they start wiping on the windows. And you're going to have to say, I don't want you to do it, or you do your wiper blades so they don't do it or something like that. And then you know what's going to happen. If you do that, they're going to start cursing at you and threatening you and stuff like that. And that's bullshit to begin with anyway. So hopefully this will be nipped in the bud soon and we won't see too much of it. But I doubt it because summer is actually coming when there's going to be more people out and about. And I'm probably going to see more of it at that time. Hopefully I won't ever be accosted by them because I don't want to deal with that. Because I don't want to have to deal with anything like that. Now, that's just in Baltimore. I don't know if it's happening in any other cities around the country, but I just remember that from the old days. In a invention that we didn't need story, there's a shower curtain now available that will have pockets for your devices, your phones, your iPads, whatever. So you can have your phones in the shower with you. And you can do stuff called shower selfies. First, these pockets are going to protect your phone. So they're not going to get wet. So for those who are obsessed with having to be online all the time, there's something wrong with you when you can't even be disconnected for 10 minutes, however long it takes for you to do a shower. You can't be disconnected from that. You have to have. Now look, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I understand maybe if you're using it for your music and you play your iTunes or whatever, and you want music while you're showering, that's fine. But what the ad that I saw for this is more gearing it toward is for taking selfies in the showers. There's pictures of people, they can, it's in the pocket and it's covered so it's not going to get wet, but they can still press the buttons and they're taking pictures like, hi, I'm in the shower, click. And I guess maybe that could be advantageous for people who like to send nudes, because we know that happens out there. Hey, why not? Showers can be sexy, you've got the soap in the hair and it's dripping down here, the body, the water's dripping down the body as well. And you can show off your full body in the shower. It can be sexy. Absolutely. It can be. But if you need to be connected all the time, even when you're on the shower, it's a problem. The other thing people have been saying is now you can do shower porn, which if you've ever tried to have sex in the shower, unless you have a nice size shower, it's really not that easy. I know. Trust me. I know it's one thing you probably don't want to know, but I know. Our shower's not that big, and it wasn't really easy to. So we ended up just saying, hell, we'll just fool around a little bit, and then we'll have sex in the bed, which is fine. But that's the other thing also. You can film porn from your shower now, too. And it'd be more realistic, I guess. I mean, when they film porn in the shower, aren't they filming it in the shower anyway? Just the cameraman's outside the shower and they're close up and stuff like that. I don't know. But the fact is, the ad was promoting taking selfies in the shower. It wasn't necessarily nudes, but say, hey, I'm in the shower. Click. Look at me. I got soap in my hair. Yay. Oh, no, I got soap in my eyes. Ow. Not promoting nude. Obviously, they're not going to promote nudes or porn or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, that's what it's promoting, is that, hey, you can now take a selfie in the shower. And that's just sad, people, really. Hey, look, I take selfies all the time. I sure as hell ain't going to take a selfie in the shower. I don't even take a selfie in the bathroom. I really don't like taking a picture in the mirror and doing that type of selfie. Now, my wife does that, and that's fine. She can do that. She doesn't do it in the bathroom because that's just like, she thinks that's a little odd if you do that. And when I take selfies, usually when I'm sitting on a sofa or outside or at work or something like that, and that's it. And so look, I'm not against taking selfies, but if you cannot disconnect for 10 minutes while you're taking a shower, there's something wrong with you. Now, again, as I said, I'm okay with it, and it's a good idea if you're using it to play your music. And that's fine. They should have focused more on that, and I'd be okay with that. But in this ad that I saw, it was pushing the shower selfie, not the, hey, you can listen to your music now without your worrying about your phone getting damaged and it being close enough so you can hear it. So I'm okay with that. And that might be the only reason why I might use it. But you know what? Even then, I don't really like music when I'm in the shower. I just like to get in the shower, do my shower, and get out of there. Because I got stuff I got to do. What's the world coming to? Oh, that reminds me. I discovered from Snopes eventually that this is something that happened a few years ago, but still, it's a bizarre story. And because of the whole Tide Pod thing, which I discussed a few episodes back, it became they brought the story back recently because basically they're saying, you know, kids today are really stupid, and they are. If you're eating Tide Pods and filming yourself eating Tide Pods, there's something wrong with you because you could die. It's soap and chemicals that can kill you. It's not supposed to be used for food. It's supposed to be used to clean your damn clothes. But I already talked about that. This newest thing, as I said, at the time, I don't remember this being out a few years ago, but Snopes had all their proof and stuff like that. And they said, nah, this isn't happening now, or it might still be happening, but these videos that people are starting to find and say, hey, look what kids are doing now, were from about 3 or 4 years ago. It's the snorting the condom. Now, for those who don't know, you should know this, because whenever you have a cold and your nose is stuffed up, you feel the mucus and stuff go down your throat and into your mouth, and you sometimes have to spit out the mucus and stuff like that, because your nose cavity empties into your mouth. So a lot of people, these people from a few years ago, would take condoms. Actually, they'd take them out of the pack. Instead of putting them down there, they would go like that, and the condom would shoot up into the nasal cavity, and then they could reach in their mouth and pull out the condom. It's a magic trick. But it's also dangerous because there's all kinds of little shit up in your nose that if you keep putting a plastic rubber thing up there, it could ruin that. Oh, and yeah, also, what if it gets stuck in your nasal cavity? Guess what? You're going to suffocate, because you might be able to breathe this way, or you're going to have to, maybe not suffocate because you can still breathe with your mouth, but you're going to have a condom up here. And some of these condoms also have spermicides on them. And that could affect you in other ways also. So I can't really say, what are you guys doing this for nowadays, because this happened a few years ago. Now, a few years ago, what the hell were you guys thinking? Is this the generation that led to the Tide Pod Challenge, which is something that just happened recently? What's next? Come on, people, seriously. We cannot be this stupid. I guess we can, considering the way things are in the world today. But come on, we can do better than this, people. Stay in school. We need to finance schools. We need to get more education. You need to stay in school. You need to learn stuff. Don't just do stupid stuff so you can get quick 15 minutes of fame and get your video viral on YouTube. Would I like to have a viral video, like my show be video viral? Absolutely I would. But you know what? It's not going to happen. My last episode of Dylan Knows had 3 views. And one of those was mine because I have to share it. So only 2 people watched my episode last week. Now I've got this one perfect viewer who's been watching the whole time. So thank you for watching the whole time. And I probably said that now they're probably going to leave. But I hope not. And again, after I do the show, I will send it out and see whoever else wants to watch it. So, condom challenge, whatever. What is next? Talking about science. I got a whole bunch of science stuff here. Scientists have discovered a new organ in humans. It's called the interstitium, and it is a fluid-filled compartment found beneath your gut, your lungs, where else? Blood vessels. It's like blow what? Blood vessels and muscles. So they're these little fluid-filled compartments that are underneath your skin, underneath your muscles and blood vessels and your gut, and where your stomach is something behind the stomach, and where your lungs are. And it doesn't really explain what it does. And I don't think they even know really what it does yet, because they just discovered it. The one thing I read about it was it might show how cancer is able to move from one area to the next, because that's what happened to my stepdad. My stepdad died back in September due to cancer. Now, he was a constant smoker for pretty much his whole life, and he had lung cancer. When they first found the lung cancer, he took chemo, and supposedly it killed all the cancer cells. Well, actually, it didn't. It shifted down to his kidneys or something down there, and liver or something like that. And it was then they had to make a decision. They said we could try to do chemo again there, but it's the same strain. It just moved from the lungs to your liver, let's just say. I don't remember exactly what his cause of death was. It was cancer, but if it was liver cancer or whatever. And my stepdad was okay with not doing any chemo because he didn't want to go through it again. And already he knew that even if it worked down there, he didn't want to go through the whole chemo stuff again. And the fact is, it might just move to another location, and it would just be constant money being shelled out. And so he just decided to not really give up, but say, you know what, I'm good. And doctors gave him a few months to live. He got a little bit more out of it, but he did pass away peacefully in his sleep back in September. So now a lot of scientists are thinking that they have ideas how it could have happened, but they think that having these interstitium packs around your body, and these are just the ones they notice, they don't know how many others there are located around your body, that they think that might be one of the ways that cancer is able to get transported from one area to the next. Like basically the cancer realizes they're getting killed off by the chemo, so they go into retreat mode. They find these little packs of fluid, enter those, and then are able to get or follow it down to other packs of these things to another location, chill out for a little bit, and then come back into forefront, so you have cancer again. That's what a lot of people are speculating. Again, science takes time to look at. They're going to have to, now they've discovered it, they're going to have to start maybe cutting into dead bodies who have donated their bodies to science to try to determine what these things are and what they actually do in our body. And we might be hearing more about this in the future. So stay tuned to this. If I hear anything, I will pass it on to you guys. Scientists have also discovered, and this is actually really freaky, have also discovered a miniature digestive system inside a lung tumor. Now just think about that. You have a tumor from cancer, again, on your lung. And it has a miniature digestive system. See, the only thing I picture when I see that is tumor's a little ball about this big. I picture little teeth, and it eats whatever, and the digestive, that's just freaky weird. And that's why science is cool, because you can discover these really weird and creepy things, and also some really cool stuff. But a tumor that has a digestive system, dude, you're one step away from having it give sentience and running around your body like some sort of creature. It's freaky. Another science story. Scientists say we sneak into parallel dimensions through our dreams. Now, again, a couple weeks ago, like I had with the chocolate slices and the ketchup slices this week, I had another thing that I talked about. Scientists believe that supernatural items, UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoots, Loch Ness monsters, whatever, actually came from parallel dimensions and maybe go back to those parallel dimensions, and that's why we can't find them. So to see again a second story that I discussed 2 weeks ago, and then a week later, I wish I could have talked about last week, because it would be like, I just talked about this last week, and now this week it's happening again. So we just jumped to 2 weeks now. Now they're saying that they're believing more and more about parallel dimensions, and that dreams are actually, you tap into a parallel dimension. So when you're actually dreaming, you're actually entering a parallel dimension and living out your dream. Now that's kind of cool, because, you know, I have lots of dreams. One of my dreams is to be a quarterback for the Washington Redskins and win 8 Super Bowls, and be the greatest quarterback of all time. Others are a little more racy that I can't talk about right now. Another big one that I always think about also is how I was a famous movie actor, director, and all my famous friends, and how all my movies are hugely popular and stuff like that. Those are the dreams that when I need to sleep, I start thinking about that stuff, and I enter those dreams, and I go to sleep usually. But then I remember aspects of it. So it got me to thinking, is like, what if, when I'm dreaming of my time as quarterback of the Washington Redskins, or as a spectacular greatest film director, actor who's won multiple Academy Awards and has all these great movies that make lots of money and is hugely popular and has lots of cool friends, what if those are actually happening in parallel dimensions? What if I decided to follow a different path when I was younger? What if I decided when I was in elementary school, instead of just sitting on my ass reading comic books and playing with G.I. Joes and Transformers, that I go out and I start getting trained up? I learned how to throw a football. I learned how to pass. I learned how to call plays. And I learned how to read defenses. And I became obsessed with football. And then I go and I do Pee Wee League football. And then I go and I play football in high school. And I become a pretty good high school football player. And then I go to a good college where I can redshirt onto a college team, or get, not drafted, but get recruited to be on, depending on my play in high school, recruited to be on a high school team, and get, money to go to that school to play football and learn, obviously. In my dream, it was University of Maryland. I gave the University of Maryland 2 national championships with 2 undefeated seasons. And then you go to the NFL draft, and people underestimate you, and I got drafted like around the 13th, 15th line, when all the pundits were saying I should have been drafted in the top 5, and then I'm going to make them pay, and I end up doing it, and I end up winning like 8 Super Bowls in my time, and and be declared the GOAT. So because I hate Tom Brady, and I can and I beat him every time I play him, so and I overshadow him, and I had 2 undefeated seasons. That was another one of my dreams as well. Or after high school or after college, during my college time, my dream was to become a movie director. What if after college I went to a film school, or I went to a film school for college, or I decided to do a Quentin Tarantino and just make a movie and then take it to film festivals and hope that Steven Spielberg or whoever would pick it up and say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to give you a 3-picture contract. And I go and I can pick and choose what I want. I get complete control of my movies, and they all become popular and hugely profitable. And I make a lot of friends with a lot of my favorite actors and actresses. And then I create my Adam Strange 8-movie superhero film, 9 movies, excuse me. No, 7, 3, 3, 1. Yes, 7-movie Adam Strange thing before the MCU happened. Which I still like the idea I have for my 7 movie Adam Strange series, but that's besides the point. What if, and that's what parallel dimensions usually are, because everything we do creates a parallel dimension. I'm talking right now at 1:38 p.m. on April 8th, 2018. To my one viewer who's still with me, thank you very much. What if I decided I wasn't going to do the show today? What if I did it last night? Would I have this 1 viewer? Would I have 10 viewers? Would I have 0 viewers? Would I be talking about different things? Would the power shut down in the middle of it? Who knows? Or after I do the show, I go upstairs. Do I go with the kids to the library and then out to do Pokemon Go hunting and shopping? Do I stay in, read comics, play video games or board games? Do I sleep? Do I go for a walk? Each one of those decisions creates a parallel dimension. Whatever I decide to do is the main dimension that my mind is, this Dylan Lang is in right now. I'm doing the show today. And so whatever I choose to do next after the show will be the alpha main Dylan role. But the stuff I didn't do, but I could have done, creates these parallel dimensions. And hey, maybe when I take this walk, maybe I get attacked by a dog and I get bitten and I have to go to the hospital. Or if I take the kids shopping, I find something really, really valuable that I can sell and make a lot of money. I could open my coffee house. you don't know what could happen. There's all kinds of things. So everything you do creates a parallel dimension because you're doing the main alpha you thing. But everything you don't do can become a parallel dimension because in another dimension, someone did that thing. But the thing is, your mind is not capable of connecting to all the parallel dimensions that you're a part of, except maybe when it comes to dreams. So my kind of thought, and I had this thought, a dream a while back, is that there was a dream I was having where I was in my famous movie director mode, and I was sitting with a friend of mine, Felicia Day. And we were sitting at a cafe outside of her building where she has Geek and Sundry, her website there. And I'm pitching her something, but then I stop. It's like, I've been having these weird dreams about another life where I have 2 kids and I'm married and I work in a uniform company. And she looks at me and is like, wow, that's really crazy. And I started having a discussion about this. But I remember what I said. So maybe there's a correlation where I've entered his body and this superstar Dylan has entered mine and doesn't quite know what's going on. And during the stream stuff and doesn't quite know what's going on. And then we switch places again and we go back to our regular lives. So that actually has a pretty neat idea. Scientists thinking that you enter into a parallel dimension. And that makes sense. Of course, obviously, except for the ones where you're dreaming you're like a knight with a big sword and you're killing dragons or aliens and stuff like that. That's just some sort of fantasy craziness in your head. And we also know that in general, dreams are basically your mind replaying the day. So characters that show up in your dream, you might only have seen briefly on a magazine, website, TV show, but becomes front and center because your mind is replaying your day. And for whatever reason, you glean on that one thing and you turn it into something else. So, and then sometimes where I spend all my time with my kids and my wife, I don't really dream that much about them, which is really odd. Except this morning, after my wife got up to go downstairs with the kids, I stayed in bed for a while. I was dreaming about a vacation with our family, not just my kids and my wife, but our extended family, the in-laws and stuff like that. So I don't know. But I said, your dreams to me are your mind replaying events, and they do it in a weird way that your mind can't quite grasp. So your mind creates aspects for it that create storylines and stuff like that, even though it's just like cursory thought of there's a picture of my mother-in-law and all of a sudden I come to the story, well, we're on vacation. Or it could be a parallel dimension where we decide to go to the beach in April. Maybe there's a dimension where Governor Hogan decides not to start school after Labor Day and end it by June 15th so the kids can actually have a real spring break for a week-long thing. Maybe decide, hey, why don't we go to the beach instead? Anything's possible. Scuba diver hospitalized after trying to have sex with a giant clam. That ain't clickbait. That ain't nothing. I clicked on it and I read it. Yep, sure enough, there's somebody who tried to have sex with a giant clam because a giant clam looks like a female's, and he has a male, and he thought, hey, why don't we see what happens here? And this idiot didn't realize that, guess what? Even though it might not move, it's a living, breathing creature. It's not going to take your shit, man. It doesn't like this. It's going to clamp down and it's going to attack you. And you're a freaking moron for thinking otherwise than that. Speaking of scuba divers, a scuba diver spotted a strange submarine lurking below them while they were scuba diving. Now, when I first read the article and I saw the picture, you see it's someone that was taking it from his underwater camera, and it's this small little submarine with lighted windows, and it looks like a UFO, really, or some kind of strange underwater thing that we've never seen before. And you couldn't see anybody in the windows or whatever like that. It was dark and stuff like that. It was creepy as hell to see a picture of a submarine with lights on. It looks like a UFO underneath you. But then you read the article, and it turns out that the submarine was actually like an underwater touring thing where you can go into it, and instead of, if you don't want to scuba dive, you can go in this underwater submarine thing. You'll be able to do the same thing as a scuba diver. You might actually get to go a little bit deeper because scuba divers can only go so far down with their tanks and their breathing apparatus and stuff like that. So, but the picture itself is so weird that I just had to bring it up. So exactly what I thought was going to happen. I'm going to take the kids to the library after my show. So there we go. It's already been determined what I'm going to be doing now. My dimension. I'm kind of hungry, so I might want to get something to eat. But you know what? The library closes at 5 o'clock, so I got to get the books. And we got to go to the library. So we're going to do that now. So I've already got that planned out. So now my parallel dimension turned out that I decided to go get something to eat first. But I'm not going to take that route. I'm going to take the route to taking the kids to the library and then Pokemon Go hunting and then shopping. Maybe I'll go to lunch out there. We'll see. Apothic Brew, wine infused with coffee. I need to find this for my wife and for my friend Heather and for anybody else who tweets about loving wine and coffee. Mandy might even be another one that likes those. And we've got to find this and taste it to see what it tastes like. Apothic Brew. Apothic is one of those wines that they have a number of different flavors, as it were, and they're actually all pretty good. This is the first time I'd heard about one infused with coffee, and it mixes two of like the older professional woman's tweets thing. If you ever read any tweets from older professional women, it's always about coffee or wine. So you get both. The Great Pacific Plastic Trash Monster is growing bigger at a inordinate rate. It's an area between Hawaii and the United States out there in the middle of the Pacific where trash that's gotten dumped into the ocean via people throwing trash or people on boats where the trash gets knocked out or for whatever reason, whatever, has actually been converging due to tides and stuff like that into one big giant mass. And that's kind of sad also, that the ocean is now polluted enough that there is a giant mass almost the size of a small island out there of plastic, Coke cans and not Coke cans, plastic Coke bottles and water bottles and stuff like that. Could be a problem in the future if you don't think more about that. Deep Space Nine actress Terry Farrell marries Leonard Nimoy's son. So, a little Star Trek romance going. I think the story, how that came about was Adam Nimoy is a film director, documentary type person. He wanted to make a documentary about Star Trek. This is before I think his dad died. He wanted to make a documentary about Star Trek for like his 30th anniversary or something like that. And so he interviewed all the actors who've been involved in the Star Trek show. So he talked to people from Next Generation and Voyager and the original series and Deep Space Nine. And Terry Farrell was one of those actresses who was in Deep Space Nine for 6 of its 7 seasons. She was the only one that left early because she didn't want to do the show anymore, which is a shame because her character Jadzia Dax is really important. But the fact is Jadzia Dax is basically Doctor Who for Star Trek, because Jadzia Dax itself, actually not Jadzia, but Dax itself is a alien that survives in people's bodies. That's the spirit. That's the Dax. It has all the memories, has everything like that, and it has all its memories of his previous lives. So when the body it inhabits now is dying, they can take the Dax alien out and put it in a new body, because there are people who, this alien race, that are willing to become hosts to the Dax alien. So when Terry Farrell wanted to leave after the 6th season, they said, not a big deal, because we'll just create a new Dax character and we can have a full season to play with that as well. So, and also then the death of a main character from the beginning of the show could be a huge boost for our final season coming up. So they did that and they put it in a new body, and then it didn't work quite as well as I would have liked, because Jadzia Dax, played by Terry Farrell, had a great romance with Michael Dorn's Worf. And that was one of the best stories from Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine is a totally underrated TV show. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go out and you need to see it. And the Dr. Bashir played by Alexander Siddig, who always wanted to be with Jadzia Dax, but never got a chance because she was not that interested in him in that way. When the new Dax came about, this new Dax became connected to Alexander, or to Bashir. I mean, which I guess is understandable because, Doctor Who has, it's like a different persona every time. And I guess basically, even though Dax has the same memories of all of his previous lives, when it connects to the new host body, that person's mindset gets mixed with the Dax, and it connects it into a new type of species, similar to Doctor Who. Doctor Who has all the memories of his previous lives, but he can bypass a lot of that and be able to be with other people and stuff like that, and have different infatuations and stuff like that, instead of, constant ones of the same type. So, like, I don't know if you'd like to see the 12th Doctor trying to hit on Rose, because Rose is only really a part of 9 and 10's relationship, and not really anyone else's. So, but what if she came back? Would 12 feel the same feelings for Rose? I don't think so. And she might not feel the same for him, obviously. So, so what I think happened is, so Adam Nimoy was making this documentary about Star Trek. And so he's interviewing all these characters and actors about their role in the time. And he, interviewed Terry Farrell, and she became attracted to him. He was attracted to her. They started flirting, and before you knew it, he asked her out. They had a few dates. They were together for a couple years, and they got married. So, huzzah to them on that. Sharknado to end with a 6th movie. Sharknado is Sci-Fi's new, or was their big movie event that when the first one came out, it became a huge worldwide success, which spawns now 6 movies. But the 6th one, as the movies have gone on, they've gone downhill in quality. And so the 6th one is going to be the last one, which makes sense. You don't want to keep beating a dead horse. You've done 6 movies. I think that's enough. So that's just for your information. Getting back to the MCU real quick, Clark Gregg, who played Inspector Coulson, who now is one of the main characters on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, but when the MCU first started, was in about 4 of the first 5 or 6 Marvel MCU movies, and ended up dying in Avengers, but was brought back in the TV show. He will be reappearing in a MCU movie. Now, again, the rumor is that something's going to happen in Infinity War that's going to connect Coulson to and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show to the MCU again, which they sort of separate a little bit from that. That, again, is a possibility. We'll see. But Captain Marvel, which is the next MCU movie after Ant-Man and the Wasp and before Avengers 4, that comes out in March or February. They're filming it right now. It takes place in the past, takes place in the 1990s. So you're going to get Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury before I think he lost his eye, and he's going to be a different character than you expected to see. And Coulson, who was a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. back then also, you're going to see him involved in the Captain Marvel movie. And also, because Captain Marvel spent some time with the Kree, and actually the male Captain Marvel is a Kree superhero, we're going to get Ronan the Accuser back, who was the bad guy in Guardians of the Galaxy, who at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy was destroyed by one of the Infinity Gems. So he's coming back also. So we're going to get to see some of the characters from past MCU movies come back for a new MCU movie coming out next year. So I think that's a really cool idea. It'd be fun to see them again, particularly Coulson again, because I think that's the one thing where Marvel has failed, is the fact that they're not connecting their TV series to the movies anymore. And I think that would be the most obvious thing to do. You don't need to have a Robert Downey Jr. come in and have a cameo in the TV show. I mean, they did Samuel L. Jackson. They let him do that a couple times. And then they had some of the other characters, minor characters in the movie show up. Sif showed up in an episode or 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's cool. It gives you that connection. But lately, they haven't done that. And I think it would have been cool to see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. get involved in Infinity War. And I also think it'd be cool to get the Netflix shows involved as well. I understand the semantics and the stuff that it's going to take to do that, and it's not going to be all that possible, but it's still a good idea. I'm just saying. Meryl Streep to replace Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. That's the newest rumor out there. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't really want it to happen. My idea was Carrie Fisher passed away after filming The Last Jedi. And if you watch the end of The Last Jedi, they're starting to have more Force-sensitive kids starting to appear again. My idea would be for her Force sense to go off, and she realizes there's more Jedis out there, or more people who are Force sensitive, that if I don't get a hold of them, evil's going to find out about it, and they're going to try to turn them evil, and the evil are going to bring back the Sith again. So what I would do is to explain Princess Leia's absence from the next Star Wars movie, which comes out next year also, and I think they're starting to film it now, is you have her going on a mission to find these Force-sensitive individuals. She makes the absolute perfect sense because she is a Skywalker. Luke is gone. Anakin's gone. Ben's gone. Yoda's gone. There's really nobody else. Rey's too busy doing her own thing. So it's up to Leia to, maybe it's her destiny. She's born to lead. Maybe that was a problem with what Luke was trying to do. Luke thought he could create a new Jedi temple, a new Jedi order, and his failure as a leader is what caused the destruction of it, thanks to Kylo. Maybe Leia, who has the ability to lead and be a leader, should have been the one to create the Jedi temple. We saw her use some of her Force powers in Last Jedi, and you don't really see her use it that much because it's something that she doesn't really want to use all that often, because she doesn't want to rely on that. She wants to rely on herself. And that would make perfect sense. It would fit with her character. She's a leader, a general, and it's her job to find these other Force-sensitive beings and protect them. That's what she does. And who else? And she very well could be the most powerful Jedi. She's the only one left right now, really, from the old school stuff. So she's probably the very best person to do this. So you don't kill her off. You explain her absence as she's off saving other Jedi-sensitive kids, and you can focus on the story you want to tell. So J.J. Abrams, let's do this, okay? Not that you're watching or anything. That'd be cool if you were, but it's not going to happen. So I love Meryl Streep to death, but I do not want to see anybody else play Princess Leia, no matter who it is. If you want to bring Marilyn as a new character, absolutely. If you want her to be a replacement for her or Laura Dern's character, because Laura Dern would have been perfect for this movie also, but they killed her off in Last Jedi. If you want to bring Meryl Streep in as a new character who's a general similar to Princess Leia, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be exactly the same, because you'd be like, you're just ripping off Princess Leia, or they're giving her all of Princess Leia's lines. Well, that's okay then. If you had a story idea and you wanted to focus on Leia to be doing this stuff, and unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away, so she couldn't perform that, why not create a new character who's similar to Princess Leia and have her come in, and she can do exactly what you wanted to do while not diminishing what Carrie Fisher could have done. Give her a new mission, which makes absolute perfect sense if you think about it, for her to deal with. She is basically the Last Jedi, honestly, except for these Force-sensitive kids who are starting to show signs of being Jedi, and that they are more, maybe that's what it was, the Force Awakens. Maybe the arrival of Rey and her Force powers somehow triggered a connection to all the Jedi, similar to, what happened in Buffy. Buffy is the chosen one. When a chosen one dies, a new one is chosen. And then at the end of the final season of Buffy, she released that and brought all the Buffy sensitive, Slayer sensitive, I should say, women, girls, to Sunnydale to take on the first evil and kick its ass. Because if you have hundreds of Buffys instead of just one Buffy, all who have pretty much the same powers, you're probably going to beat anybody You put your mind to it. And they did. They lost some life, sure, absolutely. But you know what? It made sense. So that makes perfect sense. Princess Leia is the last Jedi. She goes out to try to lead and protect and train these new Jedi. That's what Princess Leia does. It makes perfect sense to me. You don't kill her off. You keep her out there so that you can have people believe that she lived a long and healthy life and didn't die surprise and became probably the greatest Jedi of all time. Makes sense to me. Pokemon. Oh, Fantastic Four, the comic, is coming back this summer, written by Dan Slott with art by Sarah Pichelli. We'll probably cover that more if MJ and I can connect later on down the line, but it's a big deal because unfortunately Marvel sort of did a little bit of a pissing contest with Fox before they acquired them a few years ago. Fox was not allowing them to use the Fantastic Four in any of their MCU movies, which would have been absolutely perfect, but they weren't. So in order to screw them, Marvel canceled the Fantastic Four comic. And so the characters went off into different things. Reed and Sue went off on a journey through alternate dimensions, parallel dimensions again. And Thing and Johnny went and joined the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think. And but now the group is coming back together for a new generation. And Dan Slott, who I think did a really good job writing Spider-Man, he's ending his Spider-Man run with issue 801, which should be out later this summer also, is taking over not just Fantastic Four, but he's also taking over Iron Man with the leaving of Brian Michael Bendis. So I'm glad to see a new Fantastic Four comic like that. Speaking of Disney, Disney opened a home decor store. So it doesn't necessarily mean everything's Disney oriented, but it does have similar Disney stuff, but it is a home decor sort of feel to it, like an IKEA, I guess, kind of place, but it's like a Disney style quality type of thing. I didn't know more. I didn't see a lot of the pictures, but I know that it's not just all Disney stuff. It's just Disney's name attached to a home decor store. There's probably some Disney character stuff in there, but it's not like, oh, here's a Mickey Mouse chair or a Goofy table or a Mickey Mouse rug or anything like that. I mean, they might have those, but they're also going to offer stuff that people are like, hey, you know what? I kind of like that Disney table. It's a nice wood table, deep stain, 4 sturdy chairs, very well built. So kind of cool to look at that. Beetlejuice is 30 years old. I have no idea what that is. First disc. Oh, okay, I got it. Beetlejuice, 30 years old. I like Beetlejuice. It's Tim Burton's second film, and it was pretty much the one that put his mark on things. He did really well at Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but to get an actual Tim Burton experience, Beetlejuice was the absolute first one to get an idea about what his mindset is. And Michael Keaton, as always, is fantastic. Hell, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis did a great job. Catherine O'Hara, Jeffrey Jones, Winona Ryder, all did great job. It was a great cast. Some great stunt casting. They had, I forget. Robert, I forget who it was. Robert. I forget who it is, but they had some, Robert Goulet, that's what it was, Robert Goulet, and a few other people as well, making cameo roles in there. It was pretty cool. But it's 30 years old, and it's still a fairly popular movie, one of the favorites of a lot of people. It is now also going to be getting its own Broadway musical, which is a little ridiculous because I can't imagine how they're going to do it. But at the same time, I say it's ridiculous now, but somehow if you find someone who's got the creative vision to make it fantastic, why not? So we'll see about that. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that also. And then on this anniversary, this was a couple weeks ago. This is from last week, so it was 30 years old last week. To add to the story, Netflix, remember, for those who don't remember, I'm old enough to remember when Netflix started, it was a mailing service for DVDs or Blu-rays, whatever you want to call it. I think it was DVDs to begin with, and then when it switched to Blu-ray, they started sending Blu-rays. And you would join via the Netflix website, and instead of it being a streaming service, it would give you a list of all the movies that they had available. And instead of having to go to Blockbuster or any of the local video stores, you just go to your computer and say, you know what, I want Beetlejuice, click, or I want Batman, or I want whatever, The Godfather. And you would click on that and you would create a queue about which movie you want to see first. I really want to see Beetlejuice first, and then I want to see The Godfather, and I want to see Batman. So you click on those and you create a queue list of all the movies you want. And then Netflix will send it to you in the mail with a self-addressed stamped envelope that you can return it when you're done watching it. There was no time limit that I know of. And so basically you watched the movie when you had a chance. You slipped in your DVD player, your Blu-ray player, whatever. You watched it, and then what you would do then is the next day, you would pop it in the self-addressed stamped envelope, drop in your local mailbox. It'd get mailed back to Netflix, and then Netflix would get it back from you and say, okay, Dylan Lang returned Beetlejuice, and says, okay, what's the next one on his queue? The Godfather. They grab Godfather, put it in the mailbox, send it off to you. You get Godfather the next day, and so on and so forth. So they did that. So according to when this story came out about Beetlejuice's 30th anniversary, Netflix chimed in and said Beetlejuice was the very first DVD we ever sent to anybody. The first one. Netflix, here's our inaugural first premiere DVD. It is Beetlejuice, and it's going to Steve Michaels in Mississippi. Boom. So that was kind of a neat story. I think I covered all the ones on here. I got to check the sides now. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, man was injured in rocket launch when he was trying to prove that the Earth was flat. I told the story a while back about a guy who was building his own rocket to prove that the Earth was flat. He was going to launch it and be able to, I don't exactly know what his motivation was, but he would fly up into outer space or fly up in the air in his rocket and would prove that the Earth was flat. I guess karma hit him. He was injured. You don't want anyone to see, you don't want anyone to get injured, but the guy is a flat earther theorist. He said there's conspiracy that the Earth is flat, not round, and he wanted to prove it. And then he launched himself in his rocket, which was unsafe to begin with. He injured himself. Didn't die, luckily, but he injured himself. So guess he learned, or maybe he won't. I don't know. Speaking of The Last Jedi, which I just talked about not too long ago, it seems weird that if you remember when Last Jedi came out, the backlash that came with it. I personally love The Last Jedi. My kids love The Last Jedi. My wife loved The Last Jedi. My boss, Jack, who is the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, he loved The Last Jedi. I knew more people who loved Last Jedi than hated it, but there were all those stories weeks after the movie came out that it was the worst reviewed Star Wars movie in history on Rotten Tomatoes. It had a lower rating than Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi. And a lot of people hated the movie. Yes, there are things about the movie that don't make a lot of sense, that I might not have liked in general, but you know what? It was a different take, and that was what I liked about it, was that it wasn't your typical Star Wars film, because the problem with Force Awakens, while still a good movie, was basically a rehashing of the original Star Wars. Young person discovers they are force sensitive. They go on a mission to try to save the galaxy from the new empire, and they meet up with people, veterans, whatever, who help them succeed, and they lose some of their of these people who helped them. And it was the nostalgia factor seeing Han, Leia, and Luke all together again, which we actually didn't see, but we saw them back in the film. So Last Jedi was a different take on things, and it was a little bit more funny, and it had some interesting more characters. But yes, the story was a little off. And you think about it, you sit down and you think about it, there's a lot of things you can find wrong with it, but you know what? I go to movies to enjoy myself. I don't really care much about plot holes or anything like that. I'm not seriously intent on that, though I do like to watch Cinema Sins, and I like them to point out all the plot holes, stuff like that. It's not going to diminish my interest in the film. I bought The Last Jedi, and I have it in my collection. Now, if everyone in the world, and that's what the thing is, it seemed like everyone in the world hated The Last Jedi, about how bad it was. It was worse than any of the prequel movies, which is BS because the Attack of the Clones is one of the absolute worst movies of all time. I still say Phantom Menace is underrated, and Revenge of the Sith has a lot of problems, but Attack of the Clones to me is the absolute worst Star Wars movie of all time. And I've already discussed this as well. And people hate Return of the Jedi mainly for the Ewoks. I love Return of the Jedi. It's one of my favorites. But if everyone, and that's what you got, the vibe you got from reading all these websites and articles and stuff like that, The Last Jedi fails, it's a terrible movie, it's the worst Star Wars movie of all time, blah, blah, blah. And yet, when the movie came out, literally that Tuesday, the movie came out, I said, you know what, I want to get a copy of it. I don't necessarily need to get it today. So order on Amazon, I'll have it delivered within a day or two because I have the Prime membership and I'll be fine. Because Best Buy no longer really interests me because they're cutting back on their DVDs and their music, and it's just all technology now, which is fine. You need to have a technology place. But for the longest time, Best Buy was a place I'd buy all my DVDs, so like that. When I wanted them that day, I would get them. Worst case scenario, I could go to Target or I could go to Walmart. We have those around here too. They would have them. I could buy them there now. But I said, you know what, Amazon's fine. Their prices are pretty good. I don't have to worry about picking them up. I can get it delivered to the house in a couple days, and it's not something I want to see that day, but I'd like to have it in my collection. So I go on to Amazon to order it. This item is presently out of stock. New stock will be arriving shortly. Put your name on the waiting list, and when it comes in, we will deliver it to you. Now, there's no telling when the new stuff is. I'm sure they would probably they would try to do a good turnaround to get it out so people could get their movie. But it's sold out at Amazon. I was like, okay. Maybe they underordered it. No, Amazon doesn't underorder anything. They ordered probably thousands of copies of it, and they all sold out almost immediately. So then I was reading some other stuff from friends of mine on Facebook and Twitter, and one of my friends is like, got the last copy of Last Jedi from my Target. Everything else the rest of the shelf was empty. Again, he got literally the last copy that Target had on their shelf of The Last Jedi. Now, Target's not just going to order one copy or two copies. They probably ordered about 100 maybe. Not as much as Amazon, obviously, because they're only covering a smaller area. But they still ordered maybe 100, maybe 50 of that matter. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of Targets, and all of them are going to order about the same amount. So you're covering a wider range, and there's a million Targets all over the place. So even if they only order 25 or 50, they should still have some, because if you've ever gone into Target on a day or two after a movie comes out on DVD, and if it's not like something like The Last Jedi or a Marvel movie or whatever, you go in there and there's plenty of copies on the shelf. I mean, there's a little display case, and there's it might be a movie that no one really watched that much of, and there's going to be 50 copies there, and a few might be missing because people did like the movie, but it's still there. The Last Jedi was a big movie, so you'd expect them to order a shit ton of them, and they did. And at this one Target that my friend was talking about, it was gone. Now, luckily, I went Thursday after it came out, Thursday or Friday after it came out, and my Target still had about 10 to 15 copies. Now, it's possible that they got a new shipment in, and I didn't see the sold out ones, or maybe it was in an area where there wasn't as many Star Wars fans, unlike the one where my friend was. Anything's possible. What? Is there poop on the floor upstairs? Well, the cat's going to the bathroom on the stairs, on the carpets upstairs again, so there might be something wrong with her. I don't know, we'll see. I'll clean up when I can. So there's that. Krispy Kreme is, for a limited time, selling a Simpsons donut. You know, the ones you see on The Simpsons with the pink frosting and the sprinkles and stuff like that. That's just a neat little thing about that. This wasn't as big a deal anymore because when this came out, it had just happened, but Arnold Schwarzenegger had emergency heart surgery. He's been in recovery now for a couple of weeks, and he's okay. All right. MIT wearable device can hear the voices in your head. Now we're getting to this week's stuff. I guess that's interesting. I don't quite understand it. I just thought of a bunch of things in my head, and I heard it inside my head, but I didn't physically hear it in my ears. You know what I mean? I don't understand why you would have something like that. I don't know. The McVegan burger is being starting to be served overseas. A vegan hamburger available at McDonald's. You know what makes sense? You want to try to get as many people as you can into your stores. Why not? We'll do the big. Speaking of musicals, the movie Empire Records has a musical is in the works right now. That had some of the great '90s music of the time, and and I just lost my viewer about the cat poops. Probably it had some great music from the '90s in it, so that was interesting. We'll see how that comes out. If they are going to connect those songs, because it has one of the best-selling soundtracks of all times in the '90s. And who knows, maybe one of the two of these songs might be on my list for the best '90s songs Jerry and I are doing next week. Who knows? DC Nation is a 25-cent comic that is coming out around Free Comic Book Day, which is going to have a number of short stories that's going to lead into summer crossovers and stuff like that. One includes the setup for Batman and Catwoman's wedding, Brian Michael Bendis' first Superman story, stuff like that. It has sold they have ordered 1 million+ copies of that from your local distribution center. It's still, the orders are probably still coming on that, so that's going to be good. Japan has a penis festival. Again, clickbait. There's probably something to it that I don't know about, but there's that. Speaking of donuts, I talked about the Simpsons donut. Dunkin' Donuts is going to start offering donut fries, which is interesting. You're going to get, they're not going to be thin fries. They're a bit thicker, more like a country fry sort of size. So it's going to be a bit bigger, but they're going to start offering donut fries. Yeah, why not? It's the future. Bald Eagle goes after a Mariners pitcher at a Minnesota Twins home opener. So the Minnesota Twins baseball team, they had their home opener in Minnesota, and to make a big pomp and circumstance type of thing, they brought in a bald eagle, and it went about, once they released it, it landed on the opposing team's pitcher for that day. Didn't hurt him, but dude, when you have a giant bald eagle flying on your back, it's got to freak you out. So I find that interesting. Zombie-like raccoons have been popping up in Ohio, Youngsville, Ohio to be exact. A farmer and his son who dealt with them basically said what had happened was they went out to hear some strange noises. At night, they saw a number of raccoons. I don't know how many it was. The number could be 5 to 100. I don't think it was 100, but it was like 5 or 6 of them. They all were standing up on their hind legs without holding onto a tree or trash can. I have one that stands up on his hind legs on their trash can to try to get to the trash, but I've never seen him actually like standing up on the hind legs. It bared its teeth, and then it fell over and became comatose. It wasn't moving. So the first thing they come up with is it's a zombie raccoon. It's possible, but to me, more than likely, it was probably a rabid raccoon or some other disease the raccoon had that affected it that way, and it spread out. But still, again, like a clickbait headline, is still kind of interesting. Y: The Last Man, which was a great comic book series. My friend Gary can attest to that, and I can also because I read it all. And there's probably a lot of people who consider it to be one of the greatest series of the early 2000s. And that's basically what it's about, is something happens one night where all of a sudden all the men in the world have died or disappeared, and there's only one left. His name is Yorick, and no one understands why. And he's going about to try to find his girlfriend, who was overseas at some asinine French boarding school or whatever, and to try to find her and make sure she's okay. And of course, the women start taking over the world, and it goes through the new world order and the way things are. It's actually a very entertaining book, and it's not just what your typical all the women want to come in and have sex with him. It becomes a regular style post-apocalyptic story with one man and all females as they're trying to figure out what's going on. It's a good series, and is now being a pilot has been ordered for FX, which FX has been doing pretty good with some of their comic book movies like FX, or not FX, like Legion, and they've got a couple of their stuff coming up as well. And they've done a pretty good job with their TV shows. So it should fit FX if they decide to order the pilot and order it to series, which I think would be a really good idea, because it was a set series. Brian K. Vaughan, who wrote it, knew he only wanted to write about maybe, I think it was like 85 issues or something like that. He had a story, a beginning, middle, and end he wanted to tell. You can do the same thing with a TV show. I mean, you can do what you did with the Walking Dead. You can deviate here and there if you want to, because you can continue the series as long as you want, have different storylines, but you've got to stick with the main general story, because that's what Brian K. Vaughan wanted. He had his distinct story. This that happens in the first story arc is going to affect something that happens in the third story arc. It's going to affect something that's going to happen in the last story arc, that type of thing. And you sort of need to have that connection. And he has a distinct end in mind. So if you can have a distinct beginning, middle, and end to your series, you can have it last at least 4 seasons, which is a good TV series. Race, you do 13 episodes, what makes that 52 episodes if you want, or if you want to push it to 65, which tends to be the syndicated one, by all means, go for it. That gets you another season maybe. And you can create some different storylines as well, but stick with the main narrative. Unlike that's not what Walking Dead's doing. They're trying to stick with the main narrative, but they've gone on so many different tangents now that it's no longer the original narrative now, and you don't know what's going to happen. And to a lot of people, it's like, oh, that's really cool. No, actually it isn't, because I like the storyline they were telling. Rest in peace, Stephen Bochco. He was the guy who created L.A. Law, NYPD Blue, Hill Street Blues, a lot of the most popular dramas, and pretty much created the hour-long cinematic drama sort of story. He also might be best known for his biggest flop in Cop Rock, which I still think is ahead of his time, a musical TV show about cops. He wanted to do a cop show, but everyone does cop shows. He's done the best cop shows ever, but everyone does cop shows, so he wanted to change it up a little bit and turned it into a musical, which I think is actually a really neat idea. It was just not the right time for it. So rest in peace, Stephen Bochco. He died last week, I think. Mother is being arrested for using a stun gun to wake up her son to go to Easter Sunday Mass. Now, Easter Sunday is the one time of the year where lapsed Catholics who only go to church on Christmas and Easter go to church. So your church that you've been going to every week religiously now becomes extraordinarily filled with people, standing room only type of stuff, because they only show up for these 2 times. And my kids are bored with it. You know, they want the Easter bunny, they want to do their Easter eggs and their Easter baskets, all stuff, and they don't want to go and sit in church for like an hour and a half and listen to all this stuff, even though that's what Easter is all about. I can understand the kid not wanting to get up, but using a stun gun to wake it up, that's kind of wrong. I just think that was kind of an interesting story. The Last Starfighter is being rebooted. Now, you all know about my distaste for reboots. I think it's a dumb idea. It just means that Hollywood is out of ideas, and they're referring back to stuff that's happened 20, 30 years in the past and trying to redo it on their own take to try to get a new generation involved with it. Well, no, get the generation to see the original. You don't need to reboot it for any reason, because most reboots don't work. Some do, but the majority of them don't. And it's not going to make a lot of sense either, because Last Starfighter worked in the 80s because video arcades were huge deals. And that's the premise of the story. A guy who's really good at a video arcade game is a way to show aliens who put that video there that he can destroy their enemies by the highest score on the video game, and he knows what he's doing. So then they kidnap him and take him into the real battle where he's fighting the creatures that he was fighting in his video game. It's a great story. It's a wonderful movie. It is absolutely a great movie, and I think you should check out the original. I don't want to see a remake because how are you going to do it? Arcades don't exist anymore. If they do, they're like on the boardwalk or something like that, and they're very small. There's not a lot of people in it because everybody does their home video game stuff. And if you do a home video game version of it, it's not that great because, all right, well, it's a home video game, and I guess they can see who has the high score all over the world, and then they can pick a group to take it on. I guess maybe that might be what they're doing, but it's called the Last Star Fighter, not the Last Star Fighters. So I don't know about that. We'll see. Smelling your partner's farts helps you live longer. Now that's kind of an odd story. And when you read on it, it's like basically saying when your partner passes gas, the emanations that come out of it contain chemicals that combat life-threatening diseases. So smelling farts from your partner is actually okay because it's helping you live longer. Well, couldn't that work for anybody? It doesn't necessarily have to be your partner. Could you just go and smell anybody's farts now? So I don't know. That was another clickbait ad, I think, and I clicked on it because I felt like it. Woody Harrelson may be playing Carnage in the new Venom movie. To be honest, I don't care. The Venom movie looks like crap. I don't like the character. I'm not a big Tom Hardy fan. The first trailer came out and did not entice me. If it enticed me, maybe then I might think about it, but it didn't. No, there's that. But if you have to have anybody to play Carnage, I think Woody Harrelson on Hinge is actually a really good idea. Am I going to watch it? No, I'm not going to watch it, but good for you, Woody. You're also in the new Star Wars movie, the Han Solo movie, so we'll see. The museum is dedicated to dachshunds in Germany. So it's a museum about dachshunds, the wiener dogs. That's a pretty cool story as well. If you like wiener dogs, got to go to Germany to this museum. Why not? Go for it. Expectant mothers can now create a 3D print of their unborn child. So basically, when you're pregnant, you go to the doctors every week, every couple of weeks, whatever, to make sure the baby is progressing very healthy and is okay and there's no issues like that. And they take the pictures of the belly to see how the baby is and see how it's growing. And you can see it in your stomach. And it's a great experience seeing your unborn baby up on the stuff, see that it's okay and it's moving and to see its heart beating and it's going to be okay and just see how cute it is because your kid is like, this is your kid. Now, because of 3D printing, they can take that picture that they take of the unborn baby, feed it through a 3D printer, and you can create a statue, a model, 3D of your unborn baby. And you can display it for everybody. Hey, look, here's what the new baby is going to look like 3 months before he's born. And display it in your living room like a statue. Okay. Moving right along now. As a joke, this spring has been non-existent here on the eastern seaboard and pretty much all over the world, country, if you think about it. Winter's hanging on with a thread. Lots of snow still happening, lots of cold weather. It's like 30-some degrees out there today. It's supposed to be in the 60s in April, for God's sakes. And we're not even going to get close to that this week. I think one day this week is going to be in the 70s. And I think maybe the weekend is going to be a bit better. But right now, this whole week's going to be in the 40s. And that's stupid because it's freaking April. It should be in the 50s and 60s. And it's springtime because, you're getting into May, and then May's going to get really warm. Then guess what? Summer hits. So it's going to be like no easing into summer. It's going to be cold, maybe a week or two of okay temperatures, which people like spring for. They go out and, it's like why autumn is so cool. You go out, you hear the change of the seasons. You go from cold to warm because the temperature's going up. And then you prepares your body for summer when it's extraordinarily hot. And then you get into fall where it starts cooling down, getting you prepped for winter. So you still get some really nice warm days and get some really nice cold days. And then before you know it, it's November, December, and it gets to be winter. You need to have those seasonal progressions, particularly if you live in an area where you have seasons. There's some places you don't, but those where you have the seasons, you need to have those seasons to get your body acclimated to that. And it's just not happening this year. So jokingly, a lot of people have created a new season called Splinter, winter and spring mixed. All right. I think that is everything except for two things. I didn't talk about Pokemon Go, which I'll talk about right now. For those who haven't watched my show before, Pokemon Go is my wife's obsession, but I enjoy it and my kids like it as well. I talk about it once in a while. there's been all kinds of crazy stuff happening with Pokemon Go lately, and they just announced a quest. Mew has been one of the Pokemon that we've been requesting since July of 2 years ago when when Pokemon Go started. It's finally going to be in the game, but you have to do quests to get it. So you have to do about 7, it's like 21 quests in order to, which could be anything where you evolve Pokemon to catching specific ones, to throwing a specific ball, or evolving a certain one, stuff like that. So, you go through these quests, and you also have research quests where you get, extra bonuses, stuff like that, for throwing 3 Pokemon, catching 3 Pokemon, or, spinning a bunch of Pokestops, or fighting in a gym, stuff like that. So that's kind of where we've been going right now. We've been going out and doing the research stuff, and it's adding sort of another shot interest into Pokemon Go again. So that's been going on right now. So we are also coming upon next Sunday is the next community day. It is going to be a Mareep, which is one of those rare ones you don't really see in the wild. It's going to be spawning like crazy from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And you'll also be able to catch a shiny, which is a different color member of the Mareep family. There's Mareep and Flaffy and Ampharos. You'll be able to get shinies of them also and catch them as well. And if you evolve an Ampharos, which is the final evolution of Mareep, it'll be during this 2 to 5 period. You will get a special move that you can only get during that 2 to 5 period. It's Dragon Pulse or something like that. So that's pretty cool too. Then they announced also with Earth Day coming up, there's going to be an Earth Day contest. We're going to be able to get like extra Stardust and extra XP and other stuff might be happening depending on the amount of people who show up at certain Earth Day events. There's not one in our area, but if there's there's a few. There's ones overseas. There's a few in our country. But if you get a lot of Pokemon, and you need to go to those because there's going to be special events for people who go to those. But if they get enough people to go to these cleanup community events for Earth Day, they will release something for all the Pokemon Go players. So it's up to other people to go and get you stuff. So you want to cheer them on. Or if you live in an area near one of these community cleanup things, you go to that to help get what you want. But you also will get a special thing if you go there too. And then they just announced a possibility. We haven't gotten the official word yet, unless it's been on in the last 2 hours I've been doing this show. We haven't gotten official word from Pokemon Go yet, but they're going to release shiny versions of every Generation 1. They already have a few out there, Bulbasaur and Pikachu to begin. We've already caught some of those, and there have been a few others that have popped up, but now Magikarp and Gyarados, stuff like that. Now they're going to release shinies of every Generation 1 Pokemon available to be caught now. It's hard to catch shinies, though, except during the community days where you are allowed. You're probably going to get 1 to 2. I got 3. There's been January, February, March. There's been 3 community days. First one was Pikachu. I caught 3 shiny Pikachus, and I was able to evolve it into one of them into a shiny Raichu. I caught in the second community day was Dratini. I caught about 3 of those and was able to create a shiny Dragonite, a shiny Dragonair, and a shiny Dratini. So I had 3 of those. And then the last one we just did was Bulbasaur. I only caught 1 shiny Bulbasaur, and I evolved it to a shiny Venusaur. So I only have 1 of those. So hopefully they'll have some more shiny Bulbasaurs I can catch to add to my collection, and then evolve it to an Ivysaur and get a shiny Ivysaur also. But there are all these other shinies that are out there. I got a shiny Magikarp. I like to get a couple more so I can get a shiny Gyarados out of that. But then all the other ones are going to have shinies as well now, so that should be interesting. That's the rumor right now. There's no official word on it, so we'll see. So finally, I'm going to end my day with what I usually do on my solo shows, which I talk about Check I Day, which is a website / Twitter feed about how every day is a holiday. And this website details all the different holidays that they actually are. And they do them by day. So I'll do today's, and then I'll go back and do some of the big ones from the previous days, because April 5th was huge. April 8th today is Dog Farting Awareness Day, which I already talked about farting already, but now this is about dog farting. April 8th is also Draw a Picture of a Bird Day, International Feng Shui Awareness Day, International Romani Day, National All Is Ours Day, National Dog Fighting Awareness Day, National Empanada Day, Step into the Spotlight Day, Trading Cards for Grown-Ups Day, Zoo Lovers Day. April 7th, yesterday, was Empowered Women Entrepreneurs Day. Every Day is Tag Day, International Beaver Day, International Day of Reflection on the 1994 Rwandan Genocide, International Pillow Fight Day, International Snail Papers Day, Metric System Day, National Beer Day was yesterday, National Coffee Cake Day was yesterday, National Love Our Children Day was yesterday, National No Housework Day, National Pet Health Insurance Day, Public Television Day, Tangible Karma Day, World Health Day, World Health Organization Day. April 6th was Army Day, Church of Latter-day Saints Day, Drowsy Drivers Awareness Day, Fresh Tomato Day, Hospital Admitting Clerks Day, National Day of Support for Development and Peace. Jump Over Things Day was April 6th. National Caramel Popcorn Day, National Siamese Cat Day, National Student Athlete Day, National Tartan Day, National Twinkie Day, National Walk to Work Day, New Beer's Eve, Plan Your Epitaph Day, Poet and a Cupcake Day. That's a weird one. Sorry, Charlie Day, Student Government Day, Teflon Day. Now, April 5th was pretty big because you get some really good ones. Accelerate ACL Awareness Among Young Women Day. This is April 5th. Bell Bottoms Day was First Contact Day because in Star Trek, April 5th, 2040 something was First Contact, where Earth contacted the Vulcans and started the development of the Federation. Go for Broke Day, National Alcohol Screening Day, National Burrito Day was April 5th, National Caramel Day was April 5th also, National Dandelion Day, National Deep Dish Pizza Day, National Raisin and Spice Bar Day, Rita Roadmap Day, and it was also REM Day because that was when REM formed, was on April 5th. Now that's all stuff from today to the 5th. Tomorrow, we'll do tomorrow's and then I will end this up because I got to go to the bathroom. I got to clean up cat poop now, which is, again, instead of taking the kids right away out, I got to clean them up now. And that's going to be another parallel dimension that I have to deal with. What if the cat hadn't pooped up there? So then we wouldn't have to worry about that right now. April 9th is Appomattox Day, which was the end of the Civil War. Jenkins Ear Day, National Cherish an Antique Day, National Chicken Little Awareness Day, National Chinese Almond Cookie Day, National Former Prisoner of War Recognition Day, Name Yourself Day, Winston Churchill Day. Those are the days for tomorrow, April 9th. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Okay, I wonder what's going on with that. I'm just reading what's going on with the Orioles. I'll read about that in a second. Anyway, goodbye. I will be doing my Comic Call show. I just released my one yesterday, so check that out. I'll be doing another one next week sometime, and then next week I'll be doing Dylan Knows with Jerry Fletcher. We'll be talking about the top 15 90s songs that we like. So on that note, I got to go. I got to go clean up some cat poop.